What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, coming back at you tonight to do something a little bit different. No lake breakdowns tonight, so if you're hoping I was going to break down another lake, which I'm sure you were, I'm not going to. We're actually going to talk a little bit about fishing tonight. I had an email from one of the subscribers that we had that wanted to know if I could give them some information on Bob Sandlin, specifically where to fish Bob Sandlin mid-January to late January. And I was getting ready to just kind of point out some spots to him, see if I can help him out. And then I thought, you know what, this would actually be a really good video to share with all of you, as far as especially people that are just now learning how to fish, to kind of figure out how to locate the fish in this time frame, right? Especially here in North Texas. Once we get into later end of January, that pre-spawn starts to pick up and things can get a little crazy. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to focus more on kind of the pre-spawn, early pre-spawn, right? Early pre-spawn would be late January. I think we can locate him. Let's go see what we can find. All right, well, let's jump in and let's take a look at Bob Sandlin. Now, what I've done is I've gone out and I've looked up the simplistic fishing waypoints on Google Earth, and that's what we're going to use to really hone in on what we're going to focus on in a late January, let's say mid-January to about late February timeframe, could even be. This could be a really good pattern to run. So going off what I was telling you guys in the intro, someone had asked me about Bob Sandlin and where they would fish or where I would fish in Bob Sandlin if I was going up there for a tournament or something like that, and it was late January time frame. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing and let's talk about it. So first off, if we're in late January or, let's say February time frame, we're in a pre-spawn type time frame. There may be some fish spawning somewhere where the water's really warm in Texas, but up here probably not spawning yet, but definitely in a pre-spawn area. So number one thing we're going to look for in the pre-spawn time is we're going to look for flats. So we're going to go and search around. We're going to look on a map and see where the flats are. And then we're also going to look for incoming creek channels. Those are also really, really good. And then we're going to look for secondary points. Secondary points are going to be huge for us. And then last but not least, we're always going to be looking for areas that face the north. That's going to be really, really important as well. So let's go ahead and let's look at this from the Google Earth side. And then we're probably going to maybe even go over in the Navionics side. We'll see what we can find here, but we might switch over to Navionics and talk about it. But number one was flats, right? So we wanted to look for the flats. And so you're like, well, what is a flat? Well, a flat basically is just exactly kind of how we're thinking of it. How it's said, a flat. It's just a huge flat area. The other thing that I told you to look for are creeks as well, because a lot of times the creeks will lead you to the flats. The creek channels will come in and they'll dump out into a very big flat. And so usually if you can find the creeks, you'll find the flats as well. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that all flats are around creeks, because that's not the case at all, but flats with creeks coming into them, those are pretty good. And then also I said north facing, right? So we got to make sure that we're in the area on Sandlin where everything is north facing. So I'm actually going to go up here and take this sidebar off so we can look at this better. So this is Bob Sandlin. So pretty much if I told you north facing, let's just take this track that's out here in the middle of Sandlin, and we're going to say we're only going to fish on the north side of that track. So that's going to narrow our pre-fishing down to just the north side of that track. So we're going to only be fishing stuff that's on the north. And then I gave you guys one other pointer too. I said flats, creeks, north facing, there was something else and all. Secondary points. We're also going to be looking for those secondary points. So let's start right here in this. Let's just go back here and let's start back here and we'll work our way up. Now this area right here, I know it doesn't look like anything major, but they could get up in here and spawn around these docks and stuff like that, because this is a north facing bank, so it's going to block a lot of that cooler water. This isn't going to be like a really high percentage area for me, but it's definitely going to be an area that I'm probably going to want to check out. especially if I'm out there pre-fishing. You don't want to mark off anything when you're pre-fishing because you just never know. So let me draw this back. I'm going to take the water down basically so we can see what we're talking about here. And as I draw the water down, you're going to notice right here, this is what I was talking about a flat, right? So the flat really is going to be basically this area right there, right? So there's your flat. So that's going to be a pretty good spawning flat, I would imagine, for them to go to. But they're not going to be on the flat yet, right? They're going to be close to the flat. They're going to be on a point or a dock or something like that that's fairly close to that flat, but they're not going to be there yet. So where am I going to fish? Well, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to take a look at whatever this stuff is out here. You got a couple stumps, you got a couple debris, fields there. It looks like this may be a little ditch that might be over here, or this could be a tree line. I think it's actually a line of stumps. Yeah, it's a line of stumps. So this whole line of stumps you could work that are out here. This could be a fence line too, and then you could work those two stumps. I think that's going to be pretty good areas for you guys to find stuff. Maybe also up here where it talks about debris up here. You can see this debris on this little bitty hump. Well, really there's no good points that are close to this flat, but there's definitely some stuff that they could stage up on, you know, where the water's a little bit deeper out here, but they can easily get over to here. So this is in 2015 when the water's down. I take it up to 2022. A lot of that stuff we were looking at is completely hidden, but those are the types of things that you're going to want to be looking for, is things that are close to that flat, but not necessarily the flat itself. They're probably not going to be there yet, but they're going to be really close to it. So let's go ahead and let's keep moving up and see what else we can find as we move a little bit further up. Again, another great example of the flat, right? I told you guys that, you know, usually the flats will have little creeks. Well, here we go. We have some little creeks that are coming in here, and you can tell it's a giant flat. When the water comes back, you can tell that there's just, you know, it's a big, huge flat area. So we don't really need navionics, I guess, like we thought we did. So, but here we go. We have this flat. So if we stick farther toward the outside of the flat, which is probably out here, let's see how far this water goes up. So the water goes up to here. So this little area right in here, that could be a perfect spot for them to be setting in before they come back up here and get up in here and do their spawning, right? So those, again, another good spot, but that's another good spot that I think I would take a look at. It's not a secondary point, but it is a flat. There is the creek channels, and it is facing north, so it hits 3 of our rules that are there. The other thing that you want to look at when you're over here as well is checking out these creek channels and checking out the turns on the creek channels. They could be up in here. You know, it's going to get really, really shallow, but maybe out in here where it's a little bit deeper, just check out the corners while you're there as well. But this little spot in here, this could be pretty tricky. I don't know what it is, like a little ditch or something, but they could hang out in here pretty easily. And they could also hang out on some of these laydowns and stuff that are out here on the outside of this flat. So definitely take a look at that. That spot in there doesn't look, you know, that great to me, but definitely something I'd look at. Let's keep going up. See what else we find in here. We got another good little ditch that goes right in here. So you could come in here and check this out. This looks like you got a lot of grass here as well. But if you zoom in, you're going to notice that that grass is not in that area where that little mark is. So you could get in here and see if they're setting up here. They could even be setting up on the outside of this stuff. And there's also this little channel that comes over here too. I don't know what that is. But if I'm looking here, I'm thinking, okay, there's a pretty good flat there. It's got some really good hydrilla on it. They may not be there though. They may be a little bit further out. But I would look for something for them to set up on, whether that be a ditch right in here they could set up on, or they may come over here off this point and set up on some of these laydowns and stuff like that. Something a little bit away from that flat, but not that far, right? Okay, so let's move up here, see what else we can find. As we move a little bit further up, we're gonna go up this little cove here. I really like this area right up in here. Okay, so you've got big flat, right? Big flat. 2015, of course, water's down. We move the water up. Now we've got a creek channel that comes this way, kind of dumps out here. And then back here, you have this giant flat. And then you also have this nice creek channel that's over here too. So they should set up on something that's very close to this area. This is definitely gonna be a spawning flat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look and see what would they set up on. If they were waiting to go back up in here, where would they wait at? Well, they definitely wait on the bend out here. And I would for sure come out here and check out this stuff where this timber is and stuff. They could be setting up out here just waiting to go in there when the water gets a little bit warmer. And then, I don't know what this is. Looks like an old road bed or something like that, but I guess it would depend on your depth, but they could set up on that and be waiting to get back in there. But I would definitely check out these bins and this timber and these stumps that are out here just outside of that flat before you go in. All right, let's keep going down. Also, a couple things you may want to look at here is these little stump fields that are over here. It kind of acts as a secondary point before they go back here and get into that flat. Kind of the same thing here. I know this seems main lake, but it's really not. You got a little secondary point here you could fish to. Those are the types of things that you're looking for. A lot of those secondary points you're looking for, you want to find them when they're a little bit further back. So let's see if we can find something like that. Now let's keep going. Let's make sure we don't miss anything. This could be a good spot too, right here where this pond dam is. They could hang up here, and then as soon as everything gets all fine and dandy for them, ready to make the move, boom, they come back here and they've got these flats back here that they can spawn around. So another good spot. Let's keep moving up, see what else we can find. Here we go, we got the creek channel, right? Told you guys to look for the creek channels and look for the flats and look for the facing north. We don't have a secondary point here really, not too much. I guess the closest secondary point would be right there. But what we do have is a really good creek channel back here with good timber and everything else like that. So looking in this area could be really, really good for you. All right, let's keep moving up. Now we're gonna go up here, kind of the same thing, right? We find the flat, and then we find anything that's close to the flat that they would set up on. My spot here would be, if this isn't too shallow, I would pay a lot of attention right in here where this little bend is, where it touches up against the bank line. Now, I think you're gonna have some pretty good depth back there, because when I raise the water up, I mean, it looks like you've got some decent depth. So I would focus a lot of attention right in here and a lot on that dock too. Let's draw this back to 2015. Let's keep going. Hopefully this is helping you guys. I'm gonna move this back a little bit more. And then of course, you can take this same approach that I'm taking right now for Bob Sand Lake, and you can apply it to your lake. Now, my lake doesn't have all these nice creek channels and stuff like that, so I don't get the benefit of having all these coves, but you can definitely kind of take those same things that we talked about, right? The flats, the creek channels, the north face, and the secondary points, and then match that to your lake, and you will have some really good success on breaking it down. And then of course you can always get the simplistic fishing waypoints from the website and pull up these KML files and really do your study. And this is really the whole purpose of a simplistic fishing file, is to study and really plan out your trips. And that's really kind of what we're doing here. So let's keep moving up, see what else we can find. We talked about that little bend right there, right? Now we're gonna go in here, and there's actually a couple places here. So one would be coming over in this side, even though there's not a creek channel here, and just seeing if there's anything back here, like maybe if they're staging up on this dock here before they get back in this flat, or maybe they're staging on that dock, or maybe they're staging on the boat ramp right there. That'd be a pretty good spot for them to stage at. So I'd check that out, and then I'd boat over here, and I'd come back here and I'd start paying attention to what's going on back here. Now when I look at this one's a little bit tougher. You definitely have a big flat back here, so this is definitely gonna be a good spawning flat. Just don't know where they're going to hang to. They could be over here in this creek channel. You see it here, but you may want to check out, just right in this little area here. And then also coming over here, looks like there might be a little secondary creek that comes here. So fishing here around this point, and also in this little section of trees right here. This gives them a little bit of cover for them to hang out in before they head back here into the flat. All right, let's keep moving up, see what else. We got some rock here. I would definitely take a look at this. I know this seems more like a main lake point, but it's the only point you can fish in. You can't get back in here because it's buoyed off. But at least here you can fish around this rock that's around this point, and that could still be a pretty good place to find some fish. You might have to back off a little bit to get some more depth, because that's in 2022, so it's still kind of showing. But a spot I would check out, throw some crankbaits around it, things like that, just see what you can find. You're gonna wanna come out and do the same thing off this point too. I know I said secondary points, but some of these main lake points may still have fish on them. So I would check this one out too while you're out there, especially being close to that dam. All right, we're gonna keep moving over and see what else. So looking for some north facing stuff. We come up here, a little bit of a flat up here, but there's nothing for them to relate to over here. So I'd probably skip that area. I might check out that brush pile right there, because they could set on that brush pile for a while before they head back there. Again, over here, check out, there's no secondary point or anything. They may come back here and spawn. If they do, they're probably going to be hanging around this kind of stuff. You know, whatever this is down in here, or maybe even these trees over here, somewhere where they can easily make the move to go back up there. But I'm not going to spend too much time in this area. I didn't really like it too well. Moving up here, we've got this little pond that's back here. You know, maybe fishing in the entryway right here in the pond. But again, not really something I don't think I'd focus on too much right now, but I would definitely, there'd be times of the year when I'd go do that. Then we're going to move on up, and pretty much we've eliminated the north side. Now, if you come up here again, we've got some flats that are up here. These don't necessarily have creek beds, but they're great looking flats. So where do we fish up here, right? If we know they're going to come up here, where are they going to stop at? Well, you got a couple points here. You got one, you've got this little dock here. They could set up on that dock. They could also come over here and set up on some of these points. See where this timber is here on this point? Some trees right in here, some more timber. They could be in there. There seems to be maybe some more stuff going on right in here. Maybe they could hang out there, but just find those stopping spots. Like if you were the fish and you came up here and you had to stop before you got there, where would you stop at? So let's keep moving down. See what else, you know, got some good flats back in here. Maybe swinging around down in here. There's something back here in the back of this thing. Maybe they come back here and spawn and stuff. I give up. I'm not going to go back there. I'm not going to waste my time back there. Maybe check out that brush pile, but that'd be about it. I think we're about done. Let's go over one more. See if there's anything else back up in here. Do you have a weed line? It's kind of a mess up in here. That could be a potential place. That may be too shallow though for January. So maybe instead of fishing back there, you fish up here, like around this point. Looks like you might have a little bit of trees or something like that around that point possibly, but I'd maybe fish around that point and maybe not go all the way back. Then coming down, that kind of takes us out of there, and then it takes us back to the dam. If I come back in here, I guess we didn't look at that spot. Let's go back in here. We've got a weed line. I'm sure there's a lot of spawning going on back in this thing. So it's hard to say where they'd set though, but maybe check out these pond dams right here. See if they're hanging out here before they go way back in there. I don't really know. It's hard to pick of that spot right there on where they're actually going to set up at, but maybe right in there. And anyways, guys, I hope this helps you a ton. Again, you can go out and get our simplistic fishing waypoints. We've got over 190, I think, different lakes out there now. So lots of different lakes for you guys to choose from. But use this as you're going through your pre-planning for your tournaments in the spring and things like that. It will save you a ton of time. You saw right there, I mean, we just talked in a matter of 16 minutes. We broke down the lake, and now we know exactly if we go out to Bob Sandlin what our plan is. And that's kind of the tough spot about fishing, I think, is a lot of people go out there and they don't do any planning at all. They just hit the lake and say, okay, where do you want to go? And if you do that, you're really hurting yourself. You're not giving yourself the full chance of going out and having one of your best days. You have to be able to maneuver and change things, but at least have a semi-plan before you go out there. And this is the best way to do it. You can eliminate it quickly. Say, okay, I'm only going to fish North Banks, and these are the things I'm really going to focus on. These creek channels, these stumps, these things that are marked, and then you can either import all of these into your graph and have everything on there for the day, so you can have everything, or you could actually modify this file and then only pull in the waypoints that you want to. So lots of different choices there, but definitely take advantage of stuff. It will change the way you fish. It will make you much more successful. Go out and check out our website, simplisticfishing.com. And until next time, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.